So in the last 3 years alone, myself and my sales team have taken 3,978 sales calls, and we've generated over $12 million in online revenue in that time. And it's been an incredible journey. We've been teaching this process to sales and what I've learned in this time to many of our clients, and they're experiencing just the most unbelievable results. We're seeing 40%, 50%, 60, even up to 80% close rates on the phone. And these are people that didn't know how to close before. And furthermore, they're enjoying their conversations far more than they ever did before learning this process. And it's a process I'm going to teach you right now, today, in this video, completely free of charge. I'm doing something very different on the channel than I normally do. No high production, no fancy editing. I'm simply going to walk you through this, my push and pull sales framework. This is exactly what I do on every single sales call to turn someone from a cold prospect to someone almost begging to get inside of my program. And this works in almost any industry, selling any product over the phone. So imagine a scenario where every time you get on the phone, you know that you're going to close. You know that you're going to enjoy the process, and you know that the person on the other end of the phone, if they're a good candidate, is going to be really excited about moving forward and jumping into your program. That would change your business, right? It's this one skill that I want to teach you. Now, if you're new to the channel, my name is John Penberthy. I'm a husband, father, and online entrepreneur. I'm the founder of AdClients.com. We've done over $30 million online across a few of our different coaching and training businesses. And this right here is one of the keys to my success. So again, no fancy editing, nothing funny. We're just going to get into this. This is $30 million worth of online sales boiled down into a framework. Now, if you enjoy the training that we're about to go through, and if you're watching this right when I upload this onto our YouTube channel, and you want to go deeper on this topic, I've got an extended online training masterclass that I've got running very, very soon. You can click the link in the description box and come over to the page and register your spot if you're in time. I'd love to have you join us on there. And if you just missed it by the time you hit that page, I may run another one, and I'm sure there's a way to get on the wait list or something like that. So let's get into this. This is called the push and the pull script. And the first thing that I need you to understand, the first thing that I have now learned, and this is now an absolute foundation in my process and my business, is that when you are trying to sell coaching, courses, services, you name it, over the phone, it is really, really hard to do that in a one-call close. And a one-call close is where you are endeavoring to do everything needed in the space of one online or Zoom conversation or phone conversation, one conversation, and you've got to get everything done to turn that person from cold to sold. And it's really challenging to be able to do that, particularly for people that aren't used to sales, aren't comfortable with sales. Their natural disposition is not sales. It makes them feel icky and weird. It's challenging, but furthermore, there's more and more resistance in the marketplace to this way of doing things. When you hear that objection where people say, let me think about it. Well, yes, there are sales trainers online that will talk you through different objection handling techniques to combat that. But what if you didn't have to handle the objection? What if the objection just wasn't a thing? What if we could eliminate, let me think about it, altogether? Because the reality is, things like let me think about it are quite normal, quite common. And imagine if you were in a position where you could quite comfortably allow someone to go away and think about it. But what if you retained the control? And what if your closing percentage was actually better allowing people to do that than if you tried to shoehorn them into closing on that first call? So understanding that this one call close was becoming more challenging, more difficult, and just not something that's feasible for the average coach or service provider who's not used to sales and not comfortable with sales, I developed a two-call approach. And what's really cool about this is we basically take what would have been done in one sales conversation and we chop it up into two. So we're not making this a longer process. We're not making this more time consuming. We're actually just making this more effective, because by breaking it up into two parts, we can make the first conversation purely valuable and creating goodwill in the marketplace. But at the same time, we can build unbelievable desire from the prospect to want to join our thing because they're not allowed to join the thing on the first conversation. And it's only until we have the part two, it's only until we have the second conversation that they're actually allowed to join. And what this does is between call number one and call number two, instead of showing your hand on the first conversation, meaning you reveal your price, you reveal the offer, and you give the opportunity for the prospect to join, and you've given all of the power to them because you've shown your hand, and now you're waiting to hear if the prospect wants to do it or not. And if they don't straight away, which is normally what's going to happen, then you have to combat all this objection handling stuff, and it gets really icky, really uncomfortable, and just not an enjoyable process. Well, what if on the first conversation they weren't allowed to join? What if you didn't show your whole deck of cards? What if you only revealed some of them, just enough to build the desire, have a great conversation, provide value, but now between conversation one and conversation two, instead of them going away feeling like you were pushing them and being, difficult with them and not letting them off the hook and not letting them go away and think about it, now they're feeling even weirder going into the second conversation, and this is where people start to ghost you and ignore you, and you can't get a hold of prospects, and it's because you beat them a little bit too hard on that first conversation. Well, what if we didn't make the offer on the first conversation? What if we only built desire? And what if we only provided value? But what if we did all the correct things to make that desire and that value sit perfectly in balance to where that person leaves the first conversation and is dying to hear from you again, to see if they're accepted into your program, and they come back to you, as opposed to you chasing them, they come back and chase you to come into the program. That would feel so much better, wouldn't it? Well, that's what we do. So all of that is an introduction for this, the push and the pull script. It's absolutely incredible. I'm about to walk you through very quickly, mind you, this framework. Okay, this is going to show you all the things that you should say and do in the first conversation, which is called the push script, because we're pushing the prospect away. We're doing just enough, but we're not allowing them to join the program, so we're pushing them away a little bit. And then I share with you exactly what you should do on the pull script to pull the prospect back in and join your program and enroll in the program. Such a powerful process. Everyone that joins my sales team, they learn this process. All of my clients and my most successful clients use this process, and hopefully at the end of this video you'll be using this process and you'll have some great success. So I'm going to give you a whistle-stop tour of this framework, and then if you want to go deep on this, don't forget to click the link in the description box and register for my masterclass, because we're going to spend an extended amount of time going deep on this, not just the frameworks, but everything that goes around these frameworks as well. We're going to go into how you get the right prospects on the phone, and then how do you deliver these conversations with the right tonality, and what do you do when unexpected things come up, and mindset shifts that you need to make to be able to have a really high successful closing percentage. We're going to be going into all of that stuff. It's absolutely incredible. So make sure you join the masterclass as well. So let's get into this. Prospect books on your calendar. You wake up in the morning, you check your Calendly bookings, and sure enough, right there, 10 o'clock in the morning, you've got a prospect on your calendar. Great stuff. You're getting ready to jump on the call. And before, as you would have been anxious and nervous and worried about how it's going to go and potentially getting some rejection, now you're feeling good because you've got the push script. And here's what we do. We jump on Zoom, we jump on the phone, and we do step one. Step one is intro the call. Okay, this isn't new or unique to me, all right? There are some things in this framework that are. This is universal for sales, okay? We intro the call, but we are really short, really snappy. We don't get into any small talk, all right? If you get into too much small talk on a sales call, you're starting to etch your way into the friend zone, and if you're in the friend zone, you're not going to be able to close at the end. You need to stay in the trusted advisor zone, so we have to maintain our authority on the conversation. The main thing that we're achieving when we're introing the call in step one is that we're making it clear that we're the one leading the conversation, not in a controlling or manipulative way, but quite simply, prospects need to know what's going on. People like to be led in many cases, and on a phone conversation like this is one of them. So we intro the call, really short, really snappy. We welcome them onto this process and make it really clear that we have got some questions for them and we want to dig into their situation, and we're looking forward to having this conversation with them. Then we move into the reverse frame. And the reverse frame is the first powerful part of this script, where we're framing the that this is going to be happening in the complete reverse to what they're probably expecting. Okay, we're telling the prospect that we're not going to be selling them something on this phone call. And by the way, that is absolutely the truth. We are not doing a bait and switch. We're not saying that we're not going to sell them, but then we spin it around by the end of the conversation and we do in fact sell them. That's not what we're doing. We are legitimately telling them that we're not going to sell them anything on this conversation, and that's exactly what's going to happen. And you cannot back down on that, and you cannot change that later on. Even if you get to the end of the conversation and the prospect sounds sold and you think, John, I should just get the credit card information from this person, I promise you, if you stick to this process, you will get a better overall outcome. Many of the people that sound like they're in, as soon as you offer them the chance to join, well, then they retreat, then they get nervous, then they get fearful, and all these objections come up, and you're back to the one call close anyway. All right? So you've got to just stick to this process, and so you frame the fact that they are not going to be sold anything on this conversation. Okay? Now, this is where, and this is the first part of the process where their guard comes down. Okay? When they jump on a sales call, as I'm sure you've experienced it, if you've ever jumped on a sales call with a company to get some help with a certain thing, you feel that pressure, don't you? You jump on the phone as a prospect and you think, I'm ready for battle a little bit. Whether I'm going to admit it or not, I feel ready for battle. And as soon as you hear that you're not going to be sold anything, then your guard comes down a bit. And you're willing to be a bit more open, a bit more honest about your situation. And that leads perfectly into step 3, which is the detective. We're going to be asking the right questions. We're going to be digging into their situation to find out exactly what's going on for them, because for us to be able to make an offer to this particular prospect, one that's actually going to help and serve them, then we need to make sure that we first have all of the details about their situation and what they've got going on, and indeed make sure that we can in fact help them. And if we feel we can, then we progress with the conversation and we go to pain amplification. People typically will buy and invest in a solution to a problem when the pain has been amplified enough. If someone jumps on this sales call with you and they're like a 4 out of 10 on feeling the pain and the discomfort of the problem they've currently got, then they're not likely to invest in a solution because it's not a great enough priority at this point. Whereas if we can poke the pain a little bit, if we can amplify the pain, if we can, in our conversation, be reminding them of the frustration of the situation that they're currently in, and ask them some questions that amplify that pain, then we're getting them to a 6, a 7, an 8 out of 10, which is getting them closer to doing something about this problem, and it might be investing in our solution. And then we move from pain amplification to create doubt. Once we've understood their situation in the detective and we amplify the pain, well, then we need to create doubt for every other solution that they could find, because we want to limit the chance that the prospect that we're speaking to that we could help might think, well, this sounds great, John, and you're an option for me, but there's all these other options, and so maybe I'll go over there. We want to create doubt in their mind for anything other than the solution we're currently talking about. And step 6 is really important. Step 6 is where we wrap it up. And so we need the prospect to feel understood, feel heard, and that we get them. And so we get to a point in the process where we say, hey, Mr. Prospect, listen, I've really enjoyed this conversation and thank you for being so honest with me. Do you mind if I just give you something of a summary just to make sure that I've understood your situation? They'll, of course, say yes. And so you wrap it up. You say, well, here's what I'm understanding. I'm understanding that you feel like this, that you're in this situation right now, that this is frustrating, that you've tried this and you're currently stuck here. Does that sound about right? And the prospect will say yes, if you've obviously made your notes well and you have in fact got an accurate description of their situation. Now, what that's done in the prospect's mind is it's allowed them to see that you're not just another salesperson interested in getting the sale, but you've actually taken an interest in them and what they've got going on, and you've taken enough of an interest that you've made your notes and you can do a very good summary of the situation. It makes them feel really understood and really cared for. That leads us to the roadmap. And there's a lot that I can get into about the roadmap specifically. And again, there's only so much we can get into in a YouTube video. So perhaps register for my masterclass and we'll go deeper on this. But the roadmap is where we want to lay out for the prospect the journey that they now need to go on to get the solution to the problem that they've got. Now, this is not you describing your product or your service. Your product or your service is, if you think about a journey you're about to go on, your offer, your service is the vehicle. The vehicle is the option that they have to get inside the vehicle when the vehicle is going to take them on the journey. What we're doing in the roadmap is not describing the vehicle, we're describing the journey, the road. So we're describing what they need to do and how they need to do it and what it's going to do for them, describe the journey, and in a moment we'll describe the vehicle that will sit on that journey if they choose to take it. Okay? That leads us to point 8, which is the push pitch. And this is where we do describe the vehicle. So we describe the roadmap and we get their confirmation that this is what they want to do and this is where they're going. And then we do the push pitch to describe the vehicle. And the push pitch is the second step of the reverse frame. Beginning of call number 1, you made it clear to them that you're not going to sell them. And their guard came down a bit and they feel better about this process now and they feel more open, but there's a little niggling voice in the back of their head that's saying, is this person doing a bait and switch? I'm slightly reserved because I feel like there might be a trick here. And point 8, the push pitch, is where you double down on that. And so you get to the end of the roadmap and you start to wrap up the conversation, and this is where the prospect might say, well, what does it look like to work with you? And if they don't ask you that, then I've got a couple of prompts that you can use in my script where you say the right thing that encourages that question from the prospect. And when they ask about your offer or how you can help them, this is where you double down on the reverse frame. You say, hey, Mr. Prospect, listen, that's a great question and thanks for asking it. I would love to take you through my offer and what's included. I just want to remind you about what I said at point 2, that I can't enroll you on this first conversation, and you use your particular reason why that's the case. It's going to be different for all of you. There's a few examples that I give my clients that they can use. One might be that you always run a potential client past your team. Another might be because you've genuinely got limited capacity and so you want to finish taking the conversations you've got booked this week, and then you'll reach back out to successful people that you'd like to work with. And there's a bunch of other reasons that you can give. So you pick one of those reasons that best matches you and your situation, and you remind them that you're not going to sell them right now. So you're very happy to give them all the details, but it's just that they're not going to be able to enroll right now on this particular conversation. And you get them to agree to that. And it does something to the prospect. They can't believe it, right? They're like, gosh, okay, this person is legitimately not going to sell me. And what that does is it builds desire for you more so, because you come across as the complete opposite of desperate. You're not after a sale. In fact, you're literally actively pushing one away. It makes you far more attractive to the prospect. And then you go in and you describe the offer. You pitch it, but it's the push pitch because you're describing it, but you're not allowing them in, and you sell your heart out. Okay, well, if we're on the same page and you know that I can't enroll you today, even if you love it, well, let me tell you all about it. And you sell your heart out. Here's my program, and here's what it does, and here's how I work with clients, and here's the result that we get them, and here's how we do it, and it's incredible, and it's this, and we've got these bonuses, and it's absolutely incredible. And you get into the price, and you get into the different options. And at this point, you know, they're sold in their mind, they're loving it, but they can't even join, which builds the desire even more so. And that leads to objection handling. Because now that you're talking about the offer, you may as well ask them what objections they might have to it. You're not going to say it quite like that. I've got some different ways that I say it in my script, but you're basically finding out off the back of the description of your offer, what do they like about it, what don't they like, what would work, what won't work, and what reasons might they have that this wouldn't be the right fit for them, and then you start to handle those. But the difference here, and it's incredible how this works, is you're handling objections from a place where you're not allowing them to come in. So they're actually being more honest about their objections with you because they know you're not playing a double game. So it makes this whole part of the process so much more effective. And then part 10 is you get the tie downs. So before you book the second conversation, the pull script, you get the tie downs, and the tie downs are that they want to do this, that they like the sound of this, that they've got the funds and are willing to do it if they're accepted, and if we have a successful second conversation, and that they can start now, and there's not a reason why they would have to delay, right? So that's the push script. Gosh, there is so much more I want to say about it, but we better move on to the second script, which is the pull script. And once you deliver the push script successfully, or I say script, this isn't a word-for-word script, that's what we give to our clients, but this is a framework. And if you deliver everything in this framework correctly, then you've set yourself up for the sale in the pull script. And it's important to note that you should only continue on with this push process all the way to the end if you've actually been speaking to a potential candidate, right? Like, if someone's not a good fit, if you're not feeling it, if they're not hitting the criteria for a client for you, then you should obviously find a polite way to get off the phone. You shouldn't continue on a conversation like that if they're not the right fit. So if they are, then you're going to book them onto your second call, and you should have close to 100% success rate of closing these second calls. Not exactly 100%, but you should have close to 100%, because if you do this correctly, you're only booking second calls with people that want it because you've got all the tie downs. Okay, so it's just a case of having that second call once a bit more desire has built, and then you deliver it in this way. I'm going to have to go quickly now. Step 1 on the second conversation is the check-in. And we check in with the prospect to make sure that nothing's changed since we last spoke, because sometimes people can get cold feet and they can be fearful and all these different things creep in. And so we've got to make sure that they're still feeling the same as they did before. And if they're not, we've got to handle it first before we progress. Number 2 is the recap. We recap the conversation that we had the first time so that we bring all of the main points of the conversation back to the surface, so nothing's lost. And we recap the fact that, their situation, and we talked about the offer and that they wanted it, and we just recap everything, and we get them to agree to the recap so that we're all on the same page. Then we've got qualification. And qualification is where we have a couple of questions that we ask that just further qualify the prospect. Since you've spoken to the team, or since you've had a think, since the first conversation, you had just a couple of concerns, and so you wanted to address those concerns with them, and they'll answer those. And that will further qualify the prospect to want your program. Then we've got the good news and the bad news. And the good news is that you're offering them a place in the program if that's what you want to do. And the bad news is that they're stuck with you for the next however long your program is, 3 months, 6 months. So you're making a bit of a joke about this, but it's making it lighthearted before you're just about to go into the taking of their credit card information. So good news, bad news. And you're only making that offer, you're only doing that if you've checked in and everything's good, you've done a recap and everything's great, and you've done the qualification steps. And then we've got good news and bad news rolling into the assumed close. Because at this point, if you've had a great first call and you're moving into the second call, well, then you've got all the tie downs. They want this. And so all that we're waiting for is for you to say that you'd like to work with them and offer them a place. And now we're assuming the close. And so we roll into asking them for their credit card information, and many people at that point will be ready and willing and will jump into the program, and it's exciting. Now, the thing you need to realize is that although that's the case for some prospects, even if you do this process perfectly, some people won't be ready to jump in at this point, and this is when the objections will come out. Now, we've already handled a bunch of them here, step 9 on the first call. So I've already handled a bunch of those, and so there won't be many left, but there might just be a couple of niggly ones. It's typically fear and worry about this big decision they're about to make, and it's actually becoming a reality now. They're actually about to do it. And so we've just got to stay calm, have a conversation, and handle these as they come up. And finally, once you enroll the client, then we validate the sale. We confirm the incredible decision that they've just made, and we want to make them feel really special so they don't get cold feet, because the reality is, if you're watching this and you're signing up clients into your program and you're good at what you do, then joining your program is in fact an incredible decision. They're actually making the best decision for them because you're great at what you do and you can help them. And so you need to just make sure they understand that and give them that little bit of extra confidence that you're not just, now that you've closed the sale, you're just jumping off the phone too prematurely. You want to make sure that you make them feel special and comfortable and excited and all of that good stuff. And so that is the push and the pull framework. It's absolutely incredible. It's been responsible for $12 million for me in the past 3 years and $30 million over the course of the last few years. It's been an incredible journey. It's very powerful, and I hope you found this helpful. If you would like to go deeper on this, if you've enjoyed this free content right here on YouTube and you want to go deeper, don't forget to click the button in the description box. Come register for my masterclass. Not only will I give you these frameworks, but we've also got some other frameworks for other elements of the process, like a checklist to make sure that you tick off everything you're supposed to do on these calls. And we're going to talk about how to pre-qualify people before they even get on the phone, and a whole host of other stuff. It's going to be an incredibly powerful training event, and I think you're going to absolutely love it. So if you want more clients, and if you want to close better but actually enjoy your conversations and have your prospects enjoy it too, join me at the masterclass. And if you're too late from when I uploaded this video, then maybe there's a wait list or something. I'm sure I'll be doing it again very soon. And lastly, If you'd like to further your education right now, immediately, then although I've just taught you the sales frameworks, there's actually a bunch of stuff that you can do to pre-sell people before they ever even get on the phone, which makes closing even easier. If you'd like to learn about that, then there's a video popping up over here. You can go ahead and click on, or I'll teach you all of the incredible stuff that I do to pre-sell people before they get in. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate that. Subscribe to the channel if you have found this valuable, and I'll see you in a future video.